I'm recording now. And so the teachers that have not been able to get in, we will make sure that they get a copy. I'm admitting individuals in from the waiting room as they are trying to get in. But at this time, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Pip and have your phone ready, another device ready, because she has some fun activities for us to explore together.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. I am excited about being with you all today. I hope that you get something beneficial out of it and that you feel that you're able to get started if you want to, right? Like it's not something that is mandatory, and it's sharing the wrong one. Let me stop for a second. There we go. So as Stephanie introduced me, I am Christina Pipkin. I do go by Pip. There are several other Christinas that are a part of the Mind team, especially that are supporting Texas. So it's just a lot easier for people to know exactly who I am and who you're talking to if you ever are to reach out and try to get in touch with me. Education Success Manager, it's just basically a fancy way of saying that I am your go-to person. So when you start working, whether you start this semester or if you want to wait until August and get started fully then, I would be there to support you in terms of analyzing what your data is telling you, what trends do you notice, making sure that your campuses are getting trained. If any of you are leaders at your campus, so like the math support lead, we would be having separate kind of meetings and making sure that you are equipped to be like the feet on the ground. So when I'm not able to support, you would be that next line there for your teachers. At Mind Research, we are a nonprofit. We have the mission that we want to ensure that all students are mathematically equipped to solve the world's most challenging problems. We do it in a unique way, and you'll be able to see that today if you have not ever experienced our games before. So through TEA and the Texas Home Learning Initiative, Texas has purchased ST Math for all K-5 students. So all of your K-5 kiddos will have access. They actually technically already have access. Your rosters, as Stephanie mentioned through ClassLink, have already been shared with us. So if you were to log in today, it's a possibility you might have some students that have already worked, even if you haven't necessarily given them that directive. And that's totally fine. We definitely want to make sure that as we have this partnership for the next 3 years, this is something that will last until December 2023, that not only are we getting you set up for success at school, but we are supporting the home learning and home usage as well. So we have parent resources put together. We have blogs specifically supporting parents in their needs, giving them ideas, suggestions on how to use household items as manipulatives, how to facilitate them through this learning process. And it gives them the ability to really see what the math is and how we're building this foundational understanding of these concepts. So as Stephanie mentioned, this isn't the game yet, but this is to the Padlet. I have created a Padlet specific for Spring ISD. This is where I will be housing some resources. I want to make sure that if there's any additional resources, Stephanie, that you have, that we can add those as well. And this is something that if you're on your computer, feel free to bookmark it so that you can go back and revisit this as needed. There's also a column that is for questions. So if you have questions right now, throughout this time, after we're done, you can definitely post your questions there and I will be sure to answer those. Okay, so I'm just giving everybody a moment. If you are unfamiliar on how to use the QR code, if you open your camera on your phone and just hold it up to that QR code, it will give you the option to opening it up in whatever browser you have preferred for your device. So Safari or Google Chrome, whichever. All right, so now is the fun part. I'm going to give you a minute to try out one of our games. This is a fraction game. And while you're playing it, I want you to take note of what are you noticing on the screen? What do you wonder? What's happening? What are some questions that you have? And I'm going to give you a minute. So same thing, you are able to use your camera on your phone, on your device to scan the QR code. And I want you to just try out the game, no matter if you've seen it before or if you haven't seen it before. And then pay attention to what do you notice? What do you wonder? 1 minute. This is a third grade game. So if you are in one of the lower grade levels, you don't have to panic. This isn't something that we would give a kindergartner. It is going to be age appropriate as well as grade level appropriate based on the TEKS and the standards that we have for Texas. Okay, so something to note, something that we got a question about the last meeting is they are going to be placed in whatever grade level they are in for your roster. So if you teach third grade, your students are in third grade, that is the grade level that they will be assigned to in ST Math. All right, so since I can't really see the chat, Stephanie, if you don't mind, could you just, as I ask some questions, if you could just read them out to me, or if you all just want to get off of mute, you can just chime in. But I want to know, what did you notice? What did you wonder about this particular game? How do you know where to place the balloons? What do the blue wheels mean? What happens when we saw some red wheels? Just want to get some feedback and reflection from this game. What did you notice? What did you wonder?
I noticed the number line at the bottom.
You noticed the number line, absolutely. What else?
Mr. Rolong mentioned that one thing he noticed is that there is no reading involved. It also seems to involve lots of mental math.
So no reading involved, lots of mental math. We noticed a number line.
Kelly mentioned trial and error to find out what to do.
Trial and error. It sounded like somebody else was about to say something.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sorry.
The penguin is going to eventually jump and do something. The balloons may represent the infinite amount of numbers between any two real numbers.
Excellent, right? So we noticed that the penguin, our penguin name is Gigi. So Gigi has somewhere to go. And that is the objective for the student, is whatever grade level, whatever objective it is, they're trying to help Gigi across the screen. Whether there's, in this case, Gigi needs to get on a hot air balloon to be taken up, or if there's an obstacle in front of the way and we need to move it out of the way. But we noticed some great things. So we noticed that there isn't any language involved in this. We noticed that there's a number line, so that fractions are a part of a number, or that is a number and it's part of a number line. So we were able to see quite a few different things just from that one puzzle. So I have put up 4 different fraction problems on the screen. And I'm just curious, how many of you would be able to give this to your students and 100% of them would be able to answer each one of these? Or you could even just put the percentage. What percentage of your students do you feel would be successful on these 4 questions?
Pip, I have the poll ready to check grade levels if you wanted to check.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We have lots of first grade friends. First and kinder, that's great. We see lots of success with our lower grades for sure using this because of that no language, that zero language entry. They're able to really focus on that foundational skills of moving from visual to symbolic. So they'll get everything very visually provided to them, and it's going to gradually give them that more symbolic representation of math that we see. So going back to this fraction question here, these 4 fraction questions, they were the same questions that were on that GG cycle game. All right, so we have first grade as the most and then kinder. So I know that this was, a bit higher than your grade level in terms of the content, but the concept is still there, that it's still going to be that zero language entry, that it's still going to allow them, someone mentioned trial and error, right? That they're using something that we call the perception action cycle. And that is kind of like the scientific method where they're looking at something, they're making a prediction, they're analyzing the results of that prediction and then adjusting as needed. So that GG cycle game, the blue were the positives, the red were the ones that they had to subtract. And so with that puzzle, that's how they would have started that particular adding and subtracting concept. By the end of it, they would have had just these 4 questions here with the numeric representation of the fractions. Just think for a second, take a moment. And now that you have gone through that GG cycle game, can you think of other ways that this could be? You don't have to respond, just kind of rhetorical question, just to think about how we could use this visual to symbolic in other math problems, not just fractions, but maybe we're talking about for our kinder kiddos with our one-to-one correspondence or getting them to start to skip counting when we're in first grade. So just want you to take a moment and look at that difference between what you experience with GG cycle and these actual adding and subtracting fractions that we see here.
So Pip, I did want to share one of the feedbacks in the chat was a teacher mentioned, can he or she get the full game because it's fun? And I think that is, and I don't know if anyone else, agrees with him or her the way I do, because I told Pip it stopped at 8th grade and I was upset because I wanted more and more puzzles. So I think that if we're excited about it and, we enjoy it, and I do have to admit, I was subbing at, I think, Ponderosa, and I couldn't figure out what GG was asking the student to, to accomplish. And I was like, wait, I'm just trying to redirect the student. And then I had to sit down and figure it out for myself. And after I understood what GG was expecting, I could then explain it to the student. And then she just needed to do, I think it was multiples. And, I love the engagement of it. I think it's really fun. And we know how our kids are. If we're excited about it and it's already fun, it's a win-win for our students, right? So absolutely. I just wanted to share that.
No, thank you for sharing that. I think that's some really great feedback. And one thing to that person that asked, you have access to every single game. Although we are providing it for K-5 in terms of your students' access, you have access to the pre-K through 8th grade curriculum within ST Math. So you can literally play any game, any grade level. We have some challenge games that you can add to your curriculum. We also have some optional objectives that are more so about that automaticity of math facts. You can see what those games are like. How are we getting that math fact fluency added in there? So tons of ways. And that's all that would be covered within that training, that online training that Stephanie has curated and put together for you within Schoology. We also have live webinars that are offered daily. And if you wanted to join one of those, you could get some additional support from one of our professional learning specialists here directly at Mind Research Institute. So tons of ways to get information and support within our organization. Okay, so when we're thinking about how do I include this in my class? Like, what if I want it to get started tomorrow? What does that time look like? How do I ensure that I'm giving enough time for them to see success? So when we're talking about kinder and first grade, we're saying 60 minutes. And I know a lot of the campuses that are, not a lot of the campuses that are currently using for MIZ, they are everybody, the whole campus is 60 minutes. And that's because of that particular grant. But if we're talking about how do we make sure we see the biggest growth, and eventually when we're talking about next school year and we have a full year of implementation, the biggest star growth, map assessment, benchmark assessments, we would say for second on up that they would need 90 minutes. And that's because we start to include pre and post quizzes in second grade. So second grade, they start to get a glimpse of how that more traditional symbolic math will look in more of a actual quiz form. They would go through the entire level of the game, or not level, but the whole game, all the levels that are involved. And then at the end, they would have their post quiz. So it's going to give teachers tons of information about what skills they're strong on, what skills they might need additional support, the standards. And then for those of you that are leaders, math leaders at your campus, you can then target to see if there's trends across a particular grade level. We can even collaborate within our cohorts and say, okay, well, across these campuses, we're noticing fractions are a pain point for all fourth graders. What are some additional things that we want to add and include? And then that's when you can even tap into me and we can start to talk about some of the extra things that we have, including like puzzle talks and math chats, tons of ways you can extend this in your classroom. So thinking about an example of this kind of visual to symbolic, there's ways that they can interact with the screen. It's going to allow them to replay, fast forward, rewind, draw. So think about facilitation if you're still in a hybrid or a remote learning situation. So cool to have the student share their screen. And then you use questioning stems to kind of get them to answer the questions and get their minds thinking. By no means do we expect you to be an expert at these puzzles, but we do kind of encourage you to be a facilitator of their learning. Let them take the lead, but you're asking guiding questions to get their minds thinking and get them on that right track to getting to the correct answer.
And I know the bulk of our participants today are first grade teachers, right? So obviously that fraction example is not, content that you teach in first grade, but be assured that the content that your students experience is on grade level. Okay.
Yes, we do have, if you ever wanted to see the TEAC alignment or which games match which TEACs, we have all of that within the Academy. So the ST Math Academy is one of the places that you can get additional resources. We also have our help site. Both of them would have information on, how you can target certain skills. But something that I wanted to mention is that there's buzz going on in terms of social media, and not just with ST Math, but just with remote learning. This is one way that teachers and campuses and districts, for that matter, are encouraging usage, getting parents in the know of what's happening at school, and a way to kind of celebrate students or teachers, giving them a shout out on social media in terms of some successes that they're having out there. So consider that, consider tweeting, posting on your school sites, your district sites, to recognize those that are doing some stellar things out there. Oh, and you can also follow our pages as well. So we post about blogs that we recently released. Like I said, there's some that are going to be specific to parents. And then of course we have some that are going to be specific to district and campus admins, teachers, all sorts of things. A great place to identify where you can get some resources and to sign up for the live webinars if you ever are interested. And that's something that's going to be lasting all through the summer. So if you're wanting to think about planning and incorporating this in the summertime, you can even join one of our sessions then. But stmath.com/Texas is specific to us. It is our state information. You will see the whole Texas team on that page, and the links will take you to one of the Texas team members directly to get the support that you need. So in terms of next steps, I know that you have access already. There's a few people, and I don't know if any of them would be on this call, but anybody, Stephanie, that you have put on a list and that I've manually created will not go through ClassLink. You will go through play.stmath.com. Okay, so if you try logging in through ClassLink and you are unable to get access, like Stephanie mentioned before, reach out to either your area person or to Stephanie directly. And we do have a document that is regularly being updated that I'm making sure get accounts. So it could just be that you have a little bit of a different way of accessing it.
But for the most part, anyone that has a class assigned to them will access ST Math through the MySpring ISD portal. Like Tamiko, I know you're on, or you were. So for example, you would log in differently, right? So any campus leader, your DLC, you know, your C, all of the acronyms that are out there, you know, they log in differently. And those of you who, like, once you've tried to access, if you are unsuccessful, please reach out so that we can get you. So Lakeisha, I see that you need access and I'll be sure to follow up with you, but also feel free to email me. You have direct access.
Yeah. So we have 2 minutes left and I'm done with what I wanted to cover. I wanted to see if there's any questions that maybe came in or if there's anything last minute that you wanted to share out, Stephanie.
So I don't see anything in the chat. I see a few people that look like they're typing. So I do want to give, you know, 1 or 2 minutes for that. But I just wanted to recap that let me see if I can post it again. Here is the sign-in sheet. Here's also the link to the agenda. I will be sure to email all of this out as well so that you have access to the Schoology course, etc. We did have 2 questions come in, how can we see data on our students?
Yeah, so when you log into your account, you will immediately see the class that you're assigned to. So if you are considered an admin for your campus, you will see all of the classes for your campus, and so you would choose one. But on that very first screen, you'll be able to see their minutes and puzzles. Puzzles mean games. So how many games have they completed? How much time have they spent? You'll be able to see it for the current week, the previous week, and then their average for all time. And then if you wanted to click on a specific student, that's where you can get some additional usage information. But one of the greatest things about the way Stephanie set up the Schoology course is that all of that training is provided directly in there. And then, like I mentioned before, we have that live session daily that you could always join. But this is definitely part of the training and support that I would provide. We just no way of able to covering it in 2 minutes.
So Pip, it is 4:30. I did go ahead and take note of the questions that were in the chat. I'll go ahead and add them to the Padlet. And for everyone that is on the call, I'll be sure to email out some of the information. There's a getting started guide where you can print out a letter and send home to your parents and let them know ST Math is coming to our class. All of that, right? So and of course we can't cover it all in 30 minutes, but I'm a teacher and I know that anything, you know, too long is too long on a Monday. So we wanted to get, you know, a short, quick way to get started with all of the information. But at this time, we are going to go ahead and end the call, and then we'll be in contact with more information. All right. Thank you guys. I appreciate you joining for 30 minutes. Hold on, let's wave so I can post it on Twitter. Everybody wave, look pretty and happy and excited. Oh, I see all these people coming off of chat. I mean, all coming off the screen. Okay, cool. So I hope you appreciate it today. I know you didn't get everything you needed, but it's enough to get started, and we'll be here to support you guys. All right. Everyone have a wonderful Monday. It's gorgeous. Go for a walk when you get home. Bye.
Yes. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.